Audio. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the South Asia Nationals. This is going to be a community stream taken up by me, Dr. Dang. And along with me is going to be Veepster today. So, how are you doing, Veep?
I'm doing great, and I really couldn't be more excited to debut my first cast with you, Dank.
I mean, we've known each other for a long time, and casting is going to be a great way of starting a new thing off. But we have the South Asia Nationals qualifiers one going up today. This is going to be a month-long affair as we're going to be having games every weekend for these teams to make their way into the closed qualifiers through the open ones. And honestly, what are you expecting, and how excited are you for this region coming slowly into the limelight?
Yeah, I'm extremely excited. I think the most important thing to highlight here is that, as we know, after the Open qualifiers, we're gonna have our South Asia Nationals, and the top two teams from those are gonna go on to play in a LAN against teams from all over the APAC sub-region. So what we need to look forward to here today and in the weeks to come is an elevated level of play, uh, where we can basically see teams that have the potential to compete with those that have been playing at that level of play for years now. And honestly, given what we've seen over the last year, the improvement that I've seen personally, I just cannot wait because I know there's so many teams here that genuinely have that potential to play at that level.
That is definitely true. I mean, we've had a long struggle before we could get our region into the limelight, but now that we are here, I think that it's now on the teams to show us what they can do because once APAC got recognition on the global stage of Siege, it was mainly when Norarengo 2-0'd EG back in the invitationals. And since
Hmm.
then, APAC teams have been coming up left, right, and center. And the skill that we have in this entire continent of Asia is definitely going to be something that people need to see across the other continents.
Yeah, and something that I've noticed is, globally we're kind of known as the frag heavy region where, we focus a lot more on kills, which I just don't see that much. Of course, yeah, there's a little more aggression, but I really, being on this end as an analyst and something that you can relate to, you can really see the creative liberties that a lot of teams are taking and how innovative they're getting with their strategies. So I really want to see some more of that today. I really want to see more creative stuff. We're seeing new maps come into the map pool. As you know, Chalet has just been added, and we're seeing new operators with Aruni and Tachanka added in. I want to see some play at. I want to see some of these operators in play. I want to see some new stuff. I want to see teams getting creative around the new meta. I want to see, you know, I don't expect just raw aggression. I want to see creativity.
That is true. Even like it used to be localized to teams at the top of, the top of the pack, as you can say, teams like Union Gaming, Mercenaries, Kira, Demus Force. These were the teams that used to show us new things. But since then, we have started seeing tier two and tier three teams performing just as well, picking up strats, picking up ways to play objectives or just hard hold sites. We have seen, at least as far as I know, in the past 2 years of me being um, acquainted with the competitive side of Siege, I'd say that the skill level, the skill cap that we have seen from tier two and tier three teams has definitely gone up by a huge margin.
Oh, absolutely. Like going back to as early as the August major, you could see that there was a significant gap between those top teams, as you mentioned, and the lower tier teams. But what we've seen over the last few seasons is that that gap has really closed quite a bit, and we're seeing in regional leagues, in weekend cups, there's a lot of uh, competitive side. There's a competitive side to even the lower teams, and they're putting up great fights and even winning against some of our tier one teams that have that notoriety in our region. So there's anything could happen this weekend. Uh, we have our expected teams, of course, but some new up and comers who have shown a lot of potential, and you never know what's going to happen. I think we could possibly be seeing a few upsets this weekend.
Well, we definitely could be seeing that, but let's make our way into the map plans of these teams. We are going to be having Spectre Gaming taking on Sage Empire. And there you go. We have the map bans on the screen. So Spectre going in with that consulate, coastline, and the clubhouse ban, while Spectre choosing to go in for that villa, chalet, and cafe ban. So Oregon's going to be the place where we start with Spectre on defense, or rather, Spectre on attack and Sage on defense.
Yeah, and okay, I'm gonna be honest. I really wanted to see some chalet play right off the bat. New map. It's completely exciting to see everything that's gonna be played, all the new strategies. That being said, I know for a fact that Spectre Gaming is very, very strong on Oregon, and I really want to see that showing from them. We know Sage Empire is a pillar in this community, especially they've shown their potential in the past, and I think this is going to be extremely interesting. I think we're going to go right out the bat with a very strong showing from both teams. I'm very excited to see Spectre on Oregon.
I agree. I think seeing any team on Oregon is a pretty interesting thing because Oregon, it at least for me personally, it used to be a map that I would not like playing because it was so easy to cut off rotations. It was so easy for attackers to just put an air jab and forget about flanks and completely focus on laundry or pushing blue or whichever way they want. But now with the freezer stairs added with more play allowed from white stairs, from armory stairs, a bigger and a deeper roam allowed for these players on this map. I think that every single team is going to be a very, very strong, is going to have a very strong defense. And there you go. We have the community poll as it's a complete split at
Split down the middle.
50-50. I mean, uh, who do you have your money on, Weeb?
Honestly, like I said, it could go either way. Having played against both the teams and having seen both of them play, it's very tough to say. But as I mentioned, Spectre Gaming is very, very good on Oregon. They've shown this prowess against teams like Kira Esports and Demus Force in the weekly cups, and I just, I, I kind of have to put my money on Spectre Gaming here. But it could go either way. We don't know what people have been preparing for these nationals. It's a huge event in our sub region, and I think that a lot of people have been preparing for it, and they've be coming up with new stuff that we might not have seen yet. So you never know.
Well, that's true. Sometimes it's up to the tier three teams to give the tier one teams, something to think about because it happens a lot of times. But before we make our way into the game just yet, we're going to go over the lineups quickly. So, Sage Empire, we've got Flying Death, Edrico, Washed Up Boomer, Manticore, and Yala. While on the side of Spectre Gaming, we have RX7. Oh, that's a nice name taken up. Venitus, uh, GCK. That's how I can pronounce your name, I guess, my friend. And Miscalculated and Speechless. So you've got your money on Spectre. I'll go in for Sage. What do you think is going to be the scoreline as we make our way into the game between both these teams?
I think could be a close one, but again, it's gonna come down to the bans, and let's see what we're gonna have going in right here. I think Thatcher is a pretty expected ban at this point. It's become a staple, but let's see if they get a little more creative with what they're gonna ban.
Well, a Thatcher ban is more like, forcing the teams to play a Maverick. And if a team does have a very good Maverick main, as we have seen, our region has some players who can really play that Maverick really well. But, today it's going to be Sage who will have to make sure that they have that Maverick player on their team because Thatcher is going to get taken out by Spectre. I'm guessing that a
As
Cade
if on
ban.
cue.
I mean, why not? Well, I think that a Cade ban should also be on the cards because if you don't want to have a lot of time wasted on making walls soft with that Maverick, the Cade ban is really going to be, this
Oh,
is going to get interesting.
there's the curveball.
Well, there you go. There is the curveball indeed.
Oh, this is gonna waste a lot of time with getting those breaches open. I think with the Thatcher and the Maverick band, there could be a lot of issues. That being said, Kali has recently seen a return to form with her recent rebuff. And there we go. Cade has
Well,
been banned.
Cade had to be taken away. Otherwise, basement was basically going to be impossible for attackers to take because you can hide the Cade Electro Claws in places where neither the Kali nor a Maverick can get it. And since Thatcher is banned and so is Maverick, Cade would basically be unstoppable in that scenario. So a Mira ban, yep, that's pretty obvious. Oregon, a map where if you don't ban Mira, you either make sure that you have a godlike Twitch player on your team, or just play with your luck. And that is not something that these teams want to do, because Mav is not going to be in play, neither is Thatcher. And as you know, there are basically no soft walls to breach on the defensive side to get rid of that Mira window vertically, and a simple banded battery can be the fix for a lot of issues that the Mira might face. But there you go. We have the lineups: Ash, Zofia, Twitch, Hibana, and Ace. So the double hard breach being run by the side of Sage Empire, while it's going to be a Jaeger, Smoke, Melusi, Echo, and a Bandit. Oh, there looks like there's going to be a 6-pick. Yep, it's going to be the Valk getting picked up. So no IQ on the side of Sage is going to be a big factor of how that Valk is going to be playing. With an IQ, you're not going to have too many problems finding those Valk camps. But with that, IQ not being played, those Valk camps, they're going to be a lot more safer.
Yeah, and the 6-pick of the Echo. Of course, we've seen Echo fall a little bit out of meta ever since his Echo tones got. Ooh. Looks like RX is not having a good start to the game. We're not quite sure what the decision taken here is going to be. But going back to the lineup, I think that, again, as you mentioned, without the IQ in play, they may struggle a little bit. But if they have the raw aggression onto site, there's not much utility that they have to worry about. Jaeger, of course, is disconnected, but without the Wamai or the Aruni, and with a single shield, we can see Spectre Gaming losing control of the map fairly early on. We still don't have any word from the players as to what they want to do regarding the disconnect, but I think we're gonna see it played out now.
Well, I guess it's going to be played out because it's been more than 30 seconds, or rather it's going to be more than 30 seconds into the action phase, and no call for a rehost has been made just yet. So they lose that chance to get a rehost this round or pause the match, as the attack from Sage is going to be coming in. This looks like a bedroom armory push as the main door...
goes another.
Oh.
We've evened out into a 4v4. Right. Sage Empire really showing their sportsmanship by disconnecting one of their players so that they can even it out.
I mean that's pretty fair. They've lost their... I don't remember which operator they've lost, but it's not going to be the thing that needs to be counted on right now. It looks like Flying Death or Edrico will be going downstairs in the classroom to get those bandit charges, and the simple Zofia impact or an Ash charge is going to get rid of them, and Ace on the Yala is going to be able to breach. But for defense, losing that Jaeger is going to be a big deal, because holding out Trophy and delaying the push as much... Oh, what a shot coming in from Venitus. He is going to completely delete Yala off the board. That's the ace gone, and a huge pick, not to mention that the ace breach has not been opened.
Yeah, losing your ace this early into the round is of course going to hurt you a lot. That being said, the Hibana has made her way into T2 and has opened the attic breach as Edrico gets picked onto GCK down below. Not sure exactly where that happened or whether Melusi was playing, but it looks like Sage Empire is setting up for an attic take, having the control they need. Valkyrie has of course shifted into lower attic to contest this. I think the Valkyries may have read into something that the push is coming this way, but as of right now, it looks like the players are once again relocating towards the bedroom. Lots of confusion on the side of Sage Empire as to where to execute from.
Well, they should be able to capitalize on the loss of that Jaeger, because that Valk, she should be an easy pick for the Zof. Now, the only thing that was stopping that was that smart Melusi placement by GCK, which would have forced the Zofia to come in, wide swing the Melusi trap itself so that she could impact it and get it. Now, that is not going to be something that's possible, because it's going to be the end for Manticore. He'll get taken out by a C4 from the Valk, and now in a 2v3 situation with 15 seconds on the board, the push needs to come in. Attic peek comes in, not the time to peek that. Yala's going to be there with the SMG-11. He'll get that kill. No, rather, it's going to be Speechless picking up that. And as the shotgun comes out from Venitus, it's going to be the end for Edrico, as it's going to be up one round for Spectre. They're going to be taking that defensive round for themselves.
Excellently played from Spectre Gaming. Losing your Jaeger is never an ideal situation, but they somehow made it work, and I honestly have to commend them on how they played that. Forcing the attackers into doorways or single breaches, it really sort of tunneled them so that they could hold the cross angles and just pick them off one by one as they tried to make their way through the door. Raw peeking gunfights. Not an ideal situation to be in as an attacker, but again, we know Spectre Gaming, their prowess on this map, and I think that first round shows how well practiced they are on this map, how they can turn a bad situation into a win.
I think that for Sage, it was a missed opportunity. They had every single piece of utility they needed to take that armory trophy control. Because no Jaeger
Mm-hmm.
means you can't contest trophy for too long. You might just end up getting Zofia concussion or thrown a flashbang onto your face for. And when it has landed that shot, but that's not a peak that a smoke should be taking. Let alone. He landed that shot on the ace, completely changed the outcome of that round. Kudos for that. But what happens in that situation if you lose your smoke early and you basically have nothing left on the side of utility from his side except that shield, which is also not going to be that safe because,
No
you
Jaeger.
have, yeah, you don't have a Jaeger. And as for Sage, why not push trophy? You have there is nothing that could have stopped that push from trophy. Maybe push up a player onto white or push one through a big window, and you suddenly have a lot of opportunity to take that control and go in for that default plan. Now, agreed, they lost that ace, but they still had two Hibana pellet charges, or rather the six charges that were there for Hibana to open up that breach. But a missed opportunity is a missed opportunity. Nothing can be said. Going forward, maybe Sage with the comms can be a little quicker so that they can make these small changes in game, but it's going to be up to them whether they're going to be making that happen or not.
I'm gonna have to, chalk it up to just having that loss of a player on the end of Sage Empire because they didn't seem to take control of any one area of the map. I think they split too much, and when you're already in a 4vx, when you lose your one player, that's gonna seriously handicap you. And what ended up happening was the ace got peaked off because the attackers didn't take control of armory or trophy before the ace went for the breach, which is, uh, in my opinion, a requisite if that's the kind of execute you're going for. Naturally, as I mentioned, losing the one player is extremely detrimental, and all we can hope for is that they've learned from this previous round, which I'm sure they have. And once they get their player back, I think we'll be seeing the original strategy, the original plan that they wanted to execute.
So we are indeed going to be going in for a rehost. It has been confirmed from the admin side because apparently both players are not able to join properly. So irrespective of the rehost happening, we will be back with this game as we will be heading into a short break, I guess, as the lobby will get rehosted, and then we will be back with more siege action as both these teams of Spectre and Sage are going to battle it out for a spot in for a spot in the nationals. All right, well then, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the game as the teams are just loading in. They are getting their players in back to the lobby. Unfortunately for Sage, they will have to continue in a 4v5 because they do not have their last player joining in. Power cut issues, can't really do anything about it. And unfortunately, esports is something that requires an internet and a power connection to be very, very stable. But that is, something that these players cannot really put a blame on for anyone about it. It's just sometimes certain areas just have these issues. And unfortunately for washed up Boomer, he will not be able to give his team the support that is needed. So their operator lineup will have to be a lot more robust, will have to be a lot more flexible. And Weeb, what does this speak in the favor of Spectre? Because not only are they around up, they are on the they are on the defender's side on a defensive sided map.
Yeah, like you mentioned, it's going to be very tough. Park, infrastructure here really can't be helped, but it is going to put the pressure onto Sage Empire. They are going to have to play a team which is practiced, is very strong on this map in a 4v5 situation. Now you have to sacrifice something. Either you sacrifice the nades or you sacrifice the the denial, or something has to be taken out in order to play this game. And until Watch Boomer returns, I think they're gonna be struggling a lot on this split.
Well, that's true, and you can clearly see that in their operator lineup. They have the Zofia and the Ash, so soft destruction for those shields and utility burning is going to be very, very important for those two, because now as far as Ash goes, ADSs are something that she needs to worry about because no more flashes on Ash's, loadout. And Zofia, you really don't want to be burning those concussions in the first place, not to mention in a 4v5 where that concussion could really be the difference between you having the ability to push a place aggressively or not. Now, going in for that blue push is going to be something that's interesting because in a 4v5, irrespective of a ranked game or a competitive game, that is usually a place that will burn a lot of utility and will make sure that your team needs that man advantage. They don't have that right now, but let's see how Sage is going to be doing this.
Yalading wasting no time going up to that construction door and showing the early aggression, letting them know that this is where the push is going to be coming from. Getting Spectre Gaming on their feet, all guns at the ready, aiming at construction. But the problem is the sheer amount of utility that SG has stacked up onto this blue hole. You have the Banshees, you have the ADSs, the shields, and 3 cross angles from the Shaiko doorway, E-box, and elbow. So the pressure's really once again on Sage Empire on how they're gonna clear this out, because with that player down, with the less utility on the table, it's gonna be extremely difficult for them to do so.
Well, yes, that's definitely true. And not to mention that it's been 1.5 minutes and Sage has just about started to enter the map. Now, they are going to be opening that hatch and will allow RX-7 to be in a position where he could be taken out. The first frag needs to be taken by Sage to make this a 4v4. As you can see, miscalculated, losing a little bit of HP, but when it is still pretty in elbow, no damage done, no toxic canisters being used, and he's going in for that aggressive peek again, and this time he's going to get punished because he'll get taken out with a headshot. And there you go. It's going to be the first frag in the favor of Sage, but the refrag comes in. It's going to be GCK picking up that kill as Flying Death will fall, and then it's going to be another frag as RX-7 is going to go in for that wide peak. There's one player on Big Tower stairs, but he's going to be isolated. No hatch control still being maintained. The C4 tossed out. That's going to prevent the Hibana from pushing in. But now the Bandit and the Jaeger, they're playing that perfect crossfire as Ash will be the determining factor in this gunfight going forward.
Yalading saying no to Venitus after that great shot he hit on him last time. An excellent play from the ace, but unfortunately Spectre read too well into that and managed to even it out and even put it in their advantage. And now we can see the Ash and the Hibana struggling, not sure exactly where to push from. Default cam giving the location onto the Ash. 15 seconds remaining and this is all but done for Sage Empire.
Well, yes, the crossfires inside Laundry and Small Box are going to be held. That's bullet holes from the Jaeger, or rather Calculate Valk, as he's going to get that kill, and Speechless to finish things off on Manticore, as Spectre is in a very, very strong spot. 2 rounds up, defensive rounds going well for them. And they are able to play this in a 4v5.
Yeah, and as you mentioned it is going to be tough, but here's the kicker. The next site is what's known as the off site. This is the site that's a little tougher to defend, and which statistically is, a lot of defenders fail their 3 round streak on. So if there's any time that Sage Empire has to capitalize, they have to capitalize right now. Because if they don't put the pressure now and win this round, they send Spectre Gaming into a flawless rotation. And with that 3-0 up, they start the next cycle. And when they go back up to Kids Dorms and back down to Laundry, it's going to be even more difficult for them to win those rounds. So this is where we need to see Sage Empire shine. If there's any moment that they need to collect themselves and
Attackers need
focus
to
and somehow
locate and
even it out,
defuse as many
this
bombs
is the
as they
site.
can.
Well, yes, meeting dining, one of the sites that I'd say is still a very strong site, especially when you have manpower on your side. And Spectre basically has, as you can say, a spawn peak in their pocket from the start of the round, because you can basically assume that you got a free pick in the start of a round every single time you start. Now, for Sage, this is going to be testing times, and as you said, this is going to be something that Sage will really have to think
10
and
seconds to
execute,
go.
because this could really be the turning point in this game. As we see, Bandit
5
is
seconds
just
to
going to be going
insertion.
upstairs. Not sure whether that's going to be a spawn peak or just to hold. Well,
Attackers
looks
are
like he's
moving
going
out
to
to
be
locate a bomb and defuse it.
electrifying the attic walls. As yep, that's going to be something that needs to be done to prevent attic control getting taken up by the players of Sage. Now, I'm really interested to see whether Sage is going to change things up. They've gone in for that 2-2 split just yet, but maybe they can play a player on a flank or watch a flank and then have their 3 players figuring out how they can breach walls and take map control.
It's an interesting setup here from Spectre. Typically, you see teams hold heavy above, keep the attic hatch open so that they can contest the site and the attackers can't go for the plant. But Spectre seems to have a fairly loose hold here. They've reinforced the attic hatch, in fact, probably to put even more pressure onto the attackers, that even if they do take the control, they have to end up breaching one more hatch so that they can have sight onto meeting for that execute.
Well, that's true. For meeting, they need to have that hatch control. Otherwise, getting that plant down is going to be basically impossible. Now, calculated holding big window from security. He's very safe here, right next to site. He's got an ADS, a proximity alarm, and a castle barricade to prevent that push, as it's going to be Enrico using up one of those lifelines to get that attic angle open. He does not see anyone inside attic, but he needs to worry about the crossfires being held by these players, as there is a shield right in front of the pillar on top white. He's going to be going in for that ADS burn, but takes some damage from Speechless as the peak came in. Yala is also going to get concussed, holding that angle, and he'll miss that shot, as Venitus is going to pick up Yala once again. And both these players have been going back and forth since the first round. It was Venitus 1, Yala 0, then it became a 1-1, and now it's going to be Venitus picking up another kill for himself, and slowly Sage Empire is losing the plot here. They haven't been able to get a single pick, but there you go, Enrico with that pre-fire, or rather, is going to pick up that kill, and it's all down to these 2 players to make a miracle happen right now.
Yeah, it's going to be extremely difficult, but they still have the hard breach and they still have the destruction. As I said, Enrico goes and there's the thermite as well. So, yeah, that didn't last very long. I didn't even get the
Yep.
sentence done.
I mean, you can't really blame Sage for anything right now. They don't have the man
Oh,
advantage
absolutely.
on a map that really requires both these teams to have that kind of an advantage, as Yala is going to be the next one to disconnect, as we feel that we're going to in for a rehost. Maybe Watch the Boomer's power is back again. So I think we should be seeing a 5v5 going forward. Now 3-0 up already. That's a big advantage that Spectre Gaming has. But one thing's for sure, that Sage, they're not giving up just yet. They are still trying to figure out how they can make this push happen. And maybe with Bosch the Boomer by their side, this could be something that works out for them. And finally, we see some rounds put on the board from the side of Sage Empire.
Oh, absolutely. Sage Empire is doing extremely well given the hand that they've been dealt. I imagine Watchdog Boomer's bar is back, and that should put them into a more balanced position. And it's not over. 3-0. Yes, it's very in favor of Spectre Gaming, but as long as they can pull off that 3-3 or even a 4-2 split, I think once they get onto defense, once they can flex their strategies a little bit and and get on that favored side, they can definitely pull off some rounds and they can pull this back quite easily. Of course, we're seeing some very good plays from the Sophia, from the Thermite, but it's without that player, like you said, there's really not much we can say. It's you can't blame them. A 4v5 on an attack on a defender sided, or what at least is considered a defender sided map, it's extremely difficult, and they've been doing very well given the circumstances.
That's true. I agree. I think especially this meeting dining round could have been something that should have, been a lot more closer, not as one-sided as it was. It wasn't a flawless round because Vanitas got taken out, but it basically was a one-sided round and a flawless round, except Vanitas dropping that frag from a great free fire coming in from Edrico. I think that this could have been a round that Sage could maybe have looked to, um, you know, shuffle the general play style of this map, or just put some fear into the side of Spectre, because right now Spectre is going in for those peaks without any problems. They have the confidence that we have man advantage, we have map control, we're on the map that we love, and it's just going in their favor continuously. Well, we are going to be taking that short break once again, unfortunately, because the players are going to be coming into the lobby once more. So it's going to be 5 minutes, I believe, but let's see how fast we can come back into this game, because this is turning up to be is going to be turning up to be something that we are really going to have to look forward to. Well, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, the last three hosts that we see in this lobby, as all the players from Sage are going to be here. Washta Boomer has got his power back, so we will be going ahead with the 5v5 as Sage will now look to make a mark on this map. Till right now, it's been Spectre all the way. 3-0 up on Oregon on defense. They're having a dream run right now. But will this player of Washta Boomer be the deciding factor between both these teams? As we've said, a 4-2 split could be something that they can aim for still. I believe a 3-3 split is also possible, but how viable is that going to be? It's going to be a question. But personally speaking, I think even a 5-1 split is going to be something that Sage should be able to work with.
Yeah, that's something they can definitely work with. Of course, it just all comes down to how prepared they are for the defense. I am excited to be going into our first 5v5 round for this match, and with all the players on board, we can finally see what they had initially planned it out to be, what they had in mind. And right now, the pressure's once again on Sage Empire to show us that what was happening so far was just a result of them not having their player. That they can show that they have that direction, they know what control to take, they know exactly how they want to execute. And let's see how they use their utility, how they use their player positions, and just take that control so that they can finally take a few rounds. Because right now they need to focus on not ending that 6-0 split.
I agree. I think that 6-0 split is going to be something that Spectre will be aiming for. But Sage, oh, if this goes to a 6-0, I would be disappointed because, and honestly speaking, even Sage would be because they have lost 3 rounds due to a 4v5 or rather a 4v4 if you count the first round. But irrespective of that, they should be able to take at least 2 rounds going forward. Just take the next half of your attacking side as a completely new map. Don't think about what has happened in the first 3 rounds. Have a fresh start to this map. And honestly, 3 rounds on attack is also not something that is impossible. These players have already gotten a feel of what they need to do against this side of Spectre Gaming. It's just that they need to put it in action right now and make sure that they can get those rounds that are so desperately needed for them.
What I want to see is Sage Empire playing, as I mentioned, at the elevated level of play. Because yes, right now the match is between Spectre Gaming and Sage Empire, but we have to remember that further down the line, one of these teams is going to be facing off against the titans of our region. They're going to have to face the Union Gaming, the Mercenaries, Kira Esports. It's going to be very difficult, and I want to see that they have what it takes to play at that level. So, wow, that's some early aggression coming from Enrico. He's already at the bottom of White Stairs. Not exactly sure what the plan here is. We can see the smoke is holding above. He may have done some information on this, that Ash is pushing down the Shah hallway, and right now I'm really a little bit confused as to where the execute is coming from.
Well, it looks like he's just there to hold the rotate for these players as they look to either play vertically and pick off some of these players who are playing, near trophy, next to the trophy door, or maybe even set up an attic push and prevent any rotations coming in. As RX7 as well as the Melusi GCK are going to be responsible for holding on to attic. This crossfire in lower attic from both these players is going to be extremely difficult for the players of Sage to displace. But 1 minute 20 on the board, no picks made just yet. No frags dropped. The bandit is going to tank some damage, not give away his position. That is smart play as he's holding in from Kid's bedroom. As Edrico is just making sure he can cut off the rotate between Kids as well as, bedroom, so that his team can make a push up. And there you go, Washta Boomer, the player that we have not been seeing for so long with the IQ. The first peak comes in as Yala is going to be extremely close to taking another gunfight. But there's a vertical angle he needs to worry about. Will he check that? Yes, he will, and he'll land that shot. That's going to make it a 2-2 between both these players. As that's going to be Yala picking up the frag this time. He spots the ADS, doesn't go in to take it out, but there's a peek coming in from the side of Kids. That's going to be the Melusi. Now the Buck has made some progress. He's going to be running in. This might just be a big window plant. If he's able to get one frag, he's going to miss a lot of shots, but he will not be landing any. Despite all of that, as RX7 will get taken up, that's going to be Washta Boomer coming in. There's one more player inside. Kids not checking that GCK is going to get a double kill for himself,
10
the spy,
seconds to
but the
go.
plant is already going to be going
Attackers
down
activated
as
the diffuser.
Manticore will confirm the diffuser, and now GCK and Calculated, they're going to be in a 3v2 retake situation where their positions are mostly going to be known.
Defenders have
And it's a Melusi in a 1v3, and that's a 3v0. An excellent attempt, honestly, taking out the two players in from that very, very difficult position inside Kid's bedroom. Honestly, trapped by the cross angles. But as soon as that buck walked up wide stairs and picked off the smoke, that's the denial gone, and they just took control so quickly. I think we have a disconnect on the side of Spectre Gaming this time. Uh, Not sure what's going on there, but we have it. There we have it. Sage Empire have taken their first round, and in an excellent fashion, showing us that they have what it takes to end that split in the 3-3. And honestly, I'm really impressed. I think they capitalized exactly. I was a little bit worried when there was no control taken in the first 2 minutes, but they played that excellently. They had the cross angles. They were established the vertical control so that the players inside kids were trapped in tiny little corners where they couldn't move without exposing themselves to the attackers in kitchen. And as soon as they had that, they just went in for the execute and planted on the bunk.
Well, that was a good round coming in from the side of Sage Empire, and honestly, what a way to assert dominance once you come back. In a 5v5, they made sure that they got that opening pick, and after that, it was just frag after frag getting dropped by the side of Spectre Gaming, not watching white and allowing that buck to push in. J- I mean, the buck did not pick up that kill onto the Melusi, though he should have, but still, that allowed the IQ to walk in from Trophy, pick up that kill onto the Attic Jaeger, and once that frag was picked up, it was basically a ticking time bomb for the side of Spectre Gaming. They did not have a chance unless an insane play would have been made from the side of the two players that were left in that post plant, and Calculated getting picked off in that post plant situation, and then a 3v1. That's really something that a team like Sage in this situation specifically was not going to be throwing. They would not be going in for those peaks. They would not be looking to drop those early frags, and it just worked out for them extremely well. And again, unfortunately, we are going to be going in for a rehost because there was apparently a battle eye issue that has kicked one player from the lobby. But again, they are going to be making their way in. As you know, we can just talk a little bit about how Sage should be going forward with Veep.
So now I think that it's down to Spectre Gaming to choose where they want to go because Laundry has opened up, but Kid Storms is still on the table. So I think they need to assess which side is stronger for them. Yes, they did win Laundry, but that was a 4v5, and they need to take that into consideration when choosing where they want to go next. I think that if they hold it a little bit better, Kid Storms is definitely viable. We saw that bedroom and trophy, there was just absolutely no pressure at the start, no bedroom breach. The push came entirely from Attic and the vertical play. So maybe they need to shift around their focus, maybe contest the players below so that they can't take that control so easily and just walk up wide stairs and go in for the plant. It's again, it really comes down to where they feel they're more comfortable and they can win the round against Sage Empire because the aggression that Sage Empire showed, which is it wasn't it was very calculated, it was very well executed. The shot from the buck, I think it was Yalading onto smoke. It's a very hard angle to contest. Taking that control so well, I think that we honestly have to give Sage Empire some props, and they've shown to us that the first three rounds was, just a result of the 4v5, the player disconnect, and now that he's back, you know, this could be anybody's game.
I agree. I think had that disconnect not happened, we would have seen a much closer round come in. But again, I guess this map will just have to go the way that it is. So it is 1-3, Sage 1, Spectre 3. But as we have seen from this round from the side of Sage Empire, it wasn't the regular Sage that we saw. They really were missing the presence of Washed Up Boomer. And once that he is in, the aggression that he got with that IQ, especially with that G8. I mean, G8 Go Burr, that's something that we have seen across the board since the site rework or whenever that angle grip came on to the G8. I believe it was in the season that Amaru got released when we
Emberize.
yeah Emberize when we saw the IQ G8 getting the angle grip. And since then, it's really helped IQ's pick rate go back up. Though yes, you do not get any magnified scopes on that gun. That sometimes a simple angle grip is more than enough, and you don't really need magnification in most of the gunfights that you're going to be taking.
Yeah, honestly, I miss seeing IQ. We've had for the last few seasons, we've had a meta that's very heavily utility focused, and IQ having breach charges and Claymore just doesn't do much to assist in that take. So now that we've seen the changes to Jaeger, we've seen the changes to Wamai, I think that I think that we can see a little more IQ play now on the board, and seeing that G8, whether it's on IQ or Amaru, the latter being a little more interesting, a little more chaotic. Uh, yeah, it's definitely a powerful weapon in the hands of a right player like Washed Up Boomer. It can definitely do some damage. So again, it's really down to see how Sage Empire chooses to attack this next site, whether they want to go for a slow burn and clear out the utility, take positions, and then go for the execute, or they want to just push in, get the picks, get the control, and force the players into gunfights that they wouldn't necessarily want to take otherwise.
I agree. I think that the gunfights that have been picked, the gunfights that have been chosen to be picked up by Sage have been the more riskier one, especially with Yala contesting that angle up the white stairs. That's really an angle that you would never want to peek, as there's going to be another disconnect. It's going to be GCK this time, and yeah, as I said, I guess the lobby is just glitched. I mean, I don't know what to say at this point. It's
It's
clearly not
just
the player's mistake. It's clearly not um,
it's just
anyone's
disconnect
mistake.
roulette out here.
Yeah, it's just
Everybody
disconnect.
taking turns.
Well, so I think that we will have to head in for another rehost. Ze'll be back this time, hopefully uh, fast enough, as there's a. Oh, wait, look, he is back in the lobby. He's going to be back in the lobby. Let's go.
GCK looking out for
GCK
us.
coming clutch, my man. He's going to be back. Oh, that was a close one. That was a close one.
Yeah, honestly, I'm really glad that GCK made it back because Sage Empire currently they're building a little momentum, coming off that last win, and the last thing we
Defenders,
want is
protect your
for
bombs from being defused
a
by
long
attackers.
delay to kind of like throw them off to take away that momentum. I want to see this match played out in a straight 5v5 without any interruptions, and hopefully that's what we're going to be getting. Obviously, Sage Empire, Spectre Gaming has opted to go to Laundry. Maybe they feel like they have a little better showing there, and now that there's 5 players on the side of Sage Empire, of the attackers, maybe we can see something different. I think that last time they were forced to do something given the circumstances that they wouldn't necessarily do normally, just push in without burning out any of the utility. But now that they have the players, let's see what kind of control they can take, what kind of plays they can make, and how they choose to take control and
Attackers
execute.
must locate and defuse a bomb.
Well, yes, they will have to take control properly this time. Last time it was kind of, a haphazard play that came in from both these teams, and I honestly feel that for Sage Empire, it should be an easier execute because they already know what they need to expect. The elbow shield, the Melusi placements. I'm pretty sure that Spectre is not going to be changing those things up. We will still be seeing a Melusi right next to Blue Door, one next to Laundry, and then one on Big Tower Stairs. So there you go. The setup that Spectre is going to be running is basically going to be the same. And, we are going to be having a full round to see whether it's going to be Spectre taking that win and making it a 4-1 or Sage making it the 3-2. But I feel that having that information that Sage already has from the 4v5 round that they played, this should be an execute that they should be able to map out a lot more carefully, as Manticore will be getting rid of that freezer hatch. So we might just be seeing this side of Sage completely ignoring the side of Blue and going in for a main and a freezer take.
ATS deployed and ready to go.
It looks like Spectre has read into that quite well. You can see this the smoke reinforcing off elbow and rotating his shield around to freezer. Because Sage Empire showed no presence towards blue, Spectre realized that the push is coming from elsewhere. That being said, they've a minute and a half, they have the hatches open. Hibana's currently opening up the lobby hatch, so they're quite set up for the execute already. They have a lot of time, but it is a 5v5. And every second that passes without the defenders getting picked off, more pressure builds onto the attackers. Because the last thing you want is to face 5 defenders on site with very limited time left for the execute.
I mean, those are the kind of rounds that are not really enjoyable for those players, but for us as casters and as viewers, those are the kind of rounds that are sometimes the ones where we see the most exciting of those plays coming in. And Zedrico with 55 seconds on the board will be going in for that drone. They need that information for that push. They've gotten the breach that is needed, but RX-7 holding in, but miscalculated with the TK is going to put a bullet through the head of that Jaeger, and that's the end for him for this round. But Flying Death picking up a kill as well. That ace is done. AK-12 going to be extremely strong. 30 seconds on the board. Yala's already made his way in. The first smoke coming out. Good timing on those smokes, but the manpower clearly not in the favor of Spectre. The prone peek coming in from Mozzie for Freezer could be something that they need to worry about. But Washed Up Boomer playing that sneaky boy IQ is going to get spotted by that Banshee. And with the change, not yet certain, Miscalculate is going to be picking up that kill. Yala will get taken out, and that's going to be another one for him. He's on a double. He's going to spot the IQ. He's going to be on a triple. He has one player on the ground, but will he be able to make this work for himself? 4 seconds on the board. The plant will be going down right next to the shield. He'll spot the player and get that kill.
An excellent
Calculated wood. Oh,
starting the round off with a team kill and then pulling the hero play he just did. I think he earned that team kill. You really can't blame him. Excellently played, catching the ace off on the plant, getting those picks that were absolutely necessary in that 5v3 situation. The attackers had all the control, they had the picks, and they still failed to execute onto the side. And that's that veteran great play from Spectre Gaming that we've learned to expect from them on Oregon. That we just witnessed.
I mean, how do you not finish that round off? How do you not finish that round? You get 2 picks for free. You get those picks for free. You get the flank off with the IQ and shift Wing into sight. Washed Up Boomer. I get it. You have the G8 and the angle grip, but sometimes you just need to,
You gotta hit those.
yeah, you can't be doing that. That's not the play, my friend. And I mean, Sage so close to getting that 3-3 split, almost working out for them, because I'm pretty sure that had that IQ not fallen, we would be seeing a 3-2 split for Sage right now. And just what a play coming in from that man.
Attackers have discovered the location of a bomb.
Spectre Gaming opting to go to Meeting
5
Kitchen
seconds.
rather than return to Kid Storms. Maybe they felt they just couldn't play against
Attackers are heading out to
Sage
defuse the
Empire,
bomb.
the aggression that they showed in the round that they won. Meeting Kitchen, again, an odd choice, but obviously they feel like they're quite comfortable here and they're boxing themselves into sight. As long as they can keep Sage Empire from taking on some early control, if they can keep parts of the map, if they can hold the verticality, I think that they can honestly put this round into a win like they did last time.
I agree. I think that for Spectre, that last round is going to be a big morale boost. Getting that clutch in at the last second. I mean, questionable planting spot from Flying Death, but with 4 seconds on the board, you can't really blame the man for just picking a place to get that diffuser down. But also, I feel that maybe one player covering in from Freezer could have been a really big boom for that team, because they had Freezer control, they had the breach open, which is basically how the plant is already going down from the side of Flying Death. He's going to be right in the corner. The C4 gets tossed, but the plant is already down. The first frag coming from GCK. He's going to be picking up that kill onto Flying Death. This planter will go down, but now the retake is going to have to be played. The shots coming in. RX again a team kill as Enrico will be picking one more kill for himself. The 4-2 split looks to be on the cards as RX-7 will get a kill but gets taken out, and it's going to be a trade coming in. Speechless and Enrico getting each other, and what I mean, what a plant and a post plant coming in from the side of Sage. We could have seen so much more, but I think they can walk away with their heads held high despite the 4v5 and the, I would call it a throw coming in. They have been able to get that 4-2 split, and if their defenses are going to be as robust as what Spectre had, we should be seeing a great game on our hands.
That was just that was
That's
a very entertaining round to watch. We're analyzing the setup on the side of Spectre Gaming, and the attackers have just completely chosen to circumvent that. And before we know what's going on, the plant's already going down, and then it's just a flurry of kills going in the way of Sage Empire. I think they must be kicking themselves for losing that laundry round, but like you said, the 3-3 split, it's a good showing, and I
Attackers
think
need to
that they
locate
have what
and
it takes
defuse
to
bombs.
win this game. An
I
interesting
agree.
pick coming out from the side of Spectre Gaming, Blackbeard with his recent nerf. I'm not sure how advisable that is. What do you think, Dan?
I think that the BP pick, uh, I mean, as a personal opinion, I've always hated BB. I've never liked the fact that he's in the game. I would just like Ubisoft to, go to the file that says BB dot whatever, and just press shift and then
10
press
seconds to
delete,
go.
and then make sure that it never comes back. But with the 20 HP shield,
5
you
seconds to go.
he's just going to be, at least in my opinion, useless. But I guess GCK has something on in his mind for playing that BB, maybe going in for that repel on the games room window and being a lot more, a little more safer than what any other player would be. But that peek from main lobby from Melusi, that was dangerous. That's an angle that's going to be very defender sided. And had someone walked across at the right time for that Melusi, we could be seeing an early pick coming in for the side of
Defender
Sage.
is covered.
Wow, and the Melusi just jumps out armory window, refusing to give up her control of this area. Now she's in a bit of a precarious position, trapped in garage, and gets picked off by GCK. I guess the Blackbeard does come in handy.
I mean, that was the headshot that came in from that Blackbeard, and the shots were missed on the side of Watch the Boomer. But irrespective of that fact, the BB proving to be useful as the impact rig has come in. So Ace will have to deal with that impact rig once more, or are there no more impacts on the side of Sage Empire? Now, it was the Vamai who went in for those. Unless Flying Death has 2 more impacts in his back pocket, it should be interesting. But the run out is coming in from the Valkes. He'll pick up GCK. That's going to be an important frag. That's the BB off the board, not to mention the diffusers also on the floor. And slowly Sage is able to keep that man advantage in their hands when it did get picked up earlier. So no more air jab. Speechless taking some damage. He's going to be in a gunfight with that Vamai, but he needs to be a lot more careful now. He is 2 bullets less from getting taken down.
Sage Empire is showing the same frag heavy playstyle that they were using on attack. On defense, it's 2 run out picks on their end. The Blackbeard and the Nomad off the board, but the Ashe, Sophia, and Ace still remain, which means you still have your soft destruction and your hard reach. So they're still in this, and they still have the control they need. Sophia has the added control, and the Master Breach has gone down enough for them to open the angle and hold the defenders, cut them off from coming and stopping the plant. So now we just need to see what they can do with the control they have. Sophia taking out the Maestro and already inside Kid's bedroom, but can't find the pick onto the Valkyrie on top white.
Well, that's going to be unfortunate, as RX7 going to be the last player left in a 1v3, and he has the diffuser with himself, so he can make a play. He's going to pick that first frag onto RX7, push in, but now his position is going to be given away by that Melusi Banshee, or as I like to call it, the Wub Wub. And now inside Attic, he can go in for a fake plant. He is going to shoot that table off, so he has some room to maneuver, but there's a player prone right next to the bed. There's one player on white. Should he be going in for that peek with the... No, he's going to miss the player on white. And that's going to be Adrico picking up that frag for himself. And, well, Sage, they're officially back in the game.
Sage crawling ever so close to evening out that scoreboard. I think that's something that they really want to do. Obviously, keep themselves in the game, because they did have an unfortunate start, but they're really pulling this back, and I think that they're showing that they know exactly how to work onto Spectre Gaming. I think maybe they've done some VOD review, maybe they know how Spectre Gaming plays, but the lack of the IQ, the Valcams got so much information for the defenders that they were able to capitalize those 2 runouts, almost walking away scot-free. The Melusi unfortunately cut off on the rotate by the Blackbeard, but I think the attackers at Spectre Gaming need to focus on
Attackers need
taking
to
out that
locate and
information.
defuse bombs.
They need to find those val cams before they can move closer to the actual building, to the site. Because if they don't take those out and the defenders have all the information they need, then we've seen Sage Empire has the aggression, they have the mechanical skills, so there's really nothing stopping them from just putting a stop to Spectre Gaming before they can even get into the building.
I agree. I think that for Sage Empire, focusing on that first pick is going to be really important because every single defensive round is going to be extremely important. They don't want to drop even one round right now because giving
10 seconds
Spectre an eye on that match point and that win, keeping 2 rounds in your pocket is not going to be an extremely smart decision. Now, I believe they are going in for a no roam setup because they've barricaded off Laundry, they've barricaded off Freezer, and they're just going to be holding in pretty inside Freezer Blue and possibly around the pillar area. Now, that is a smart choice if you have a lot of denial, and they do have the Jaeger and Vamai, so they can play that utility game with the Twitch on the side of Spectre. Well, there you go. That was the taser ringing out in the background, as I believe Calculated did pick up one piece of utility, but still, it's going to be extremely important. Well, Ventus, he is going to be bringing. Oh, he's going to be taking some damage. Well, coming back to the point that I was making, he's going to be bringing someone whom I like to call the utility denial master, Ying. You have the option of bringing smokes. You have 3 Ying Candelas. Not to mention, if there's no ADS or Vamai Vamai Magnet, you're going to be having a very easy time picking up kills.
I think Ying is just so excellent on this side to take control of this area. You can have the shields, you can have the banshees, but if you're blind, there's really nothing you can do to stop her from walking right up and taking all your control, taking all your utility, and making it her own. And we see this execute coming in, the Candela's going off, Ying going into elbow, but the smoke has read it just too well and reinforced it off, forcing the Ying to use her heartbeat gadget to open up a line of sight, to open up a hole in the walls that they can contest that, but excellently read from the smoke. As soon as his Candelas came in, he knew there was no point contesting that. Gave up the thing, saved his life, and the Ying is taken out.
That's going to be 2 frags, as Ash is also going to be taken out. The diffuser will get retrieved. GCK finally getting a refrag, but Manticore is going to put an end to that and pick up another one. He's going to pick up 2. It's all down to the last player on pillars. His head is going to get spotted by the Vamai, and Washed Up Boomer is not someone who misses those shots. And that's me speaking from personal experience. And that's going to be another round on the board for Sage, as we're going to be seeing an even 4-4 split. And honestly, from the position that Sage was in, down 3-0, staring down the barrel of that shotgun, I think they've come a long way.
I'm extremely impressed with the level of play that they've just shown. I think Spectre Gaming at some point in this round said, let's show them that we can be aggressive too. And rather than pick them back and take those gunfights, Sage Empire just reinforced it off. They said, take the control, we don't need it. We have the site, and we'll force you into cross peaks, and that's exactly what they did. Almost a flawless round coming out from Sage Empire. Very well played. I think we really have a fight on our hands. This could definitely go all the way.
Well, this could definitely go all the way, and at this point in the match, this is going to be the same place where Sage, or rather Spectre, had the advantage, and now Sage is going to be holding the cards in their hands, and they might be able to turn this around completely. As you said, if they are going to be getting this meeting dining round for themselves, they will get that clean 3-0 sweep on their first round, going to the sites that they want to go. And honestly, you can drop some light, or you can shed some light onto this. What kind of a team do you think would rather go in for a kitchen dining hold than a meeting kitchen hold?
5 seconds
I think the key difference is the verticality. When you're looking at kitchen dining, you really want to have a more horizontal hold. Attackers typically won't push above because they still have to drop down, and without clearing out server, without clearing out dining, on which there is limited verticality, it's very difficult. So when a team wants to go to meeting kitchen, they're more comfortable with the vertical hold, not the horizontal. And they can hold above, they can keep that control above, they use the hatches and the holes made in the ground through the soft destruction, in this case by the mute, to hold sights onto the angle below, forcing the attackers to clear above.
I agree. I think that the meeting hold that really, or rather teams choosing meeting kitchen is really going to be coming down to the fact that you can have vertical play or you can have that aggressive horizontal hold that we saw. And now Sage did pull that off. They did get the diffuser down in the first 30 seconds, I believe. But calculated on the BB this time. He's hitting his shots, but he is not going to be checking his back, as that's going to be washed up Boomer picking up that frag, and the crouch work walking BB no longer going to be something that these players need to worry about, because he's going to get taken out as the first pick. And Sage off to a very, very good start, picking off a player in the first minute of a round. That's great. But Speechless, he's going to be really close, and he'll get that flick before, oh, not before Edrico can pick up Venitus. And again, the Nomad off the board. That's going to be extremely, extremely difficult.
Well, they have the meeting breach open, so they are set up to go for an execute, but they don't have the verticality, the pulse giving information, and can call out to his teammates when they move in. It's really difficult for them. Once again, it all draws back to what we were talking about, the information that the defenders are using through the Valkyrie, through the pulse. It's just something that Spectre Gaming is not able to counter.
I agree. I think that Spectre Gaming is not able to figure out how they want to put an end to this. Rome has watched a Boomer really picking up another kill. The Zofia running behind him for that refrag, but eventually dropping off as RX-7 will be picking up a frag of his own, but he's going to be coming in. A lot of shots missed, but that UMP is still going to be able to get that frag. The pistol comes out, and at close range, the Musoc is going to be just as good as having an SMG in your hand, if not better than the UMP. And that's going to be the end of Ace and advantage Sage Empire. This was not the position that we thought we were going to be in, but there you go. We are in that position.
For the first time in this matchup, Sage Empire has the lead. They've been extremely strong, only dropping one round since Washed Up Boomer returned. And honestly, I think that I have to commend them for this round. They used the information. The Nomad's flank watch was just, the attacker's flank watch, despite having a Nomad, was just pretty much non-existent, and Washed Up Boomer capitalizing perfectly on that. Moving in from behind, killing the Blackbeard from behind, moving up the laundry staircase. He just became such a detriment to the attackers as they didn't know how to clear him, how to hold him off. And he's just running around getting the picks.
Defenders, protect your bombs from
Well,
being defused by attackers.
as I know Washed Up Boomer personally, I'd say that he is here with a vengeance, picking up that Wamai once again, as Spectre Gaming now have the match to lose in their hands. They are not able to figure out what needs to be done, as it's honestly a little sad for their side. They had the huge advantage, but now it's advantage for the team that they are facing, which is going to be Sage Empire. And honestly, I really think that the mentality difference between both these teams is being shown. Spectre just taking a lot more longer to figure out what they want to do, not having their players in the right position at the right time, the crossfire is not being held perfectly, getting picked off on flanks, not droning properly. I mean, that frag that got dropped onto calculated last round in Shower Hallway should not have been a peak that was allowed for Washed Up Boomer to take. You should have already droned in from Shower Hallway, should have already cleared those angles out before sending your BB on a mission. Unfortunately for them, they did not do that, as he's going to be repelling and his shield gets taken off. It's now just one bullet to do the magic for that BB shield.
I think the BB shield, it really comes down to the caliber of the player you're playing against and the caliber of the player on that gun. Because yes, it only stops one shot, but in a scenario where both players are hitting heads, it's just going to buy you that one extra second required to play that. And Miscalculated is one of those players, but in this case, the defenders just knew exactly what was going to happen. They managed to pick up the shield and send him on his way. And we really need to hope that this time the attackers have learned from their mistakes, that they have the proper flank watch, they use the air jabs correctly, and they deny the information from the defenders.
I agree. I think that, oh, there you go. Finally, the BB working out. But, you know, that could have been any other gun as well. But still, the BB being favored by the side of Spectre Gaming. They are going to be picking up one kill, and Washed Up Boomer just shift up, blowing across the window. no fear in this man. The BB is going to be right next to him, going in for that pre-fire. He is wary about that run out, but maybe you're looking in the wrong direction, my friend. You need to make sure that no one jumps out of big window for you. But there you go. The drone is going to be spotting Watch the Boomer right next to the bed, and that's going to put him in the the crosshairs of miscalculated. What a pre-fire. Oh boy, that's a GN and a half if I know one.
And that's why we don't bring Blackbeard anymore. That shield has just become extremely useless in this scenario. You could see the Blackbeard waiting for the small tower run out. It looks like the first Kid Storm's defense has really put some trauma onto the attackers of Spectre Gaming. They're just so scared of those runouts coming in and they just don't know where to look. Despite the information being given, the Wamai, again, washed up Boomer, showing his presence, showing that he is what Sage Empire needed. Honestly, pulled this win off, and once again, they're in a favorable position with only 30 seconds left. The attackers forced to tunnel in through certain doors, through certain holes, and maybe they can't pull off the execute.
Attackers bomb
I
diffuser
agree.
has
I
been
think
dropped.
that there you. And before I can say anything, it's just going to be Sage Empire picking up a flurry of kills. It's going to be all blue for the kill feed, and it's going to be all blue for match point because it's going to be Sage Empire 6-4 up. Now, mind you, this was the team that was down to 4 men and down 0-3 on their attacking half, but oh, Watch the Boomer has come in. Looks like he's not a boomer anymore because he is clearly being the difference maker for his team, picking up those frags, making sure that he can keep his team together, keeping that morale up, most importantly, I believe. And for Spectre Gaming, this is a tough loss if they are going to be taking one, because after having that huge advantage coming down to this scoreline, it's not something I expected, and it's not something that I would be able to take lightly after this loss if that
Defenders,
comes through.
protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Yeah, I honestly think that Washed Up Boomer, massive contribution from his end. Don't want to take anything away from the other players, but again, since his return, Sage Empire has just dropped one round, and even that one round really came down to the wire. It was very close, and like you said, it was a little bit of a throw. I don't like using that because, in game, so much can change so fast, but yeah, I think that any team that's playing against him, bribe his electricity company, cut his power again, because this man is really making a massive difference.
Well, I mean, to give this man an electricity connection and a mouse and a keyboard, he can definitely show a thing or two. And honestly, I think that Spectre, they really need to revamp the way that they have attacked basement. Last time, they did try to go in for a sneaky play. They did try to, make their way in through Big Tower and Blue. It didn't work out. The smoke played that really smart, fell off at the right time, let them open that breach, and then the Ying just got picked up easily, and then the player on Big Tower, on Pillar as well, was able to pick up a frag on Shaikodor, and it just was a downhill battle from there for the side of Spectre Gaming. Now, they still have 2 rounds that they can work and take this to overtime, because that is something that Sage has guaranteed for themselves. Sitting on match point right now means that despite losing the next 2 rounds, overtime is something where they'll be able to keep themselves in the game. And again, the smoke coming in, speechless. That's not the place you hold when there is a smoke on board. With the smoke clipping out, he's going to be taking a lot of damage, not to mention RX-7 falling off. Watch the Boomer has taken some damage, but he is still being able to roam around freely. He's still going to be running all the way to Freezer, dropping over my disc, tagging a lot of damage onto Calculated. And again, the second smoke canister getting used, and suddenly Spectre are going to be facing a huge mountain in front of them. They have 1 minute 40 on the board. They are down the barrel on the match point. And Spectre, if there's any play or any strats that you have been saving, now is the time to use it.
With a minute 30 left, this is Spectre Gaming's last chance at the first qualifier. We know there are, of course, 3 weeks left, but they don't want to give that up just so soon in the first match of the first qualifier. It's still a 4v5. As we know, that's very, very possible. Sage Empire showed us this, and we just need to hope that they use their time management efficiently. Meeting hatch being open, forcing Washed Up Boomer out of E-box. Never mind, he's just going to stay there and contest a little longer. And now all Sage Empire has to do is to temper their aggression, to make sure that they push back a little bit. They still hold the angles, because with a minute left, it's on to Spectre Gaming to execute. Washed Up Boomer just doesn't want to give up that aggression.
Well, watch the boomer. That was not some aggression that was needed, but there's one player on the hatch. If he does push forward, his feet might get clipped off. The flash comes in. The Jaeger is going to be in a tough spot, but the Bandit as well as the Wamai are going to be there for his cover. The peak on Shaikador is made. Rico's position is now known. Harry Potter is what should be called. Ventus dropping that flashbang, but deciding to run away, but coming back again as the peak is still coming in. Manticore is going to pick one up. It's down to the 3 players, down to the 2 players, as Washed Up Boomer is going to be on the floor. GCK picking one up, but miscalculated with the pistol on one. Manticore picking that up. 12 seconds on the board. It's GG's, I believe. GCK making his way in. He's going to spot the down player. He'll spot the smoke, but Flying Death just coming in and finishing it off. And what a comeback coming in from the side of Sage Empire. Honestly, it's just wonderful to watch something like this. The team that did not have any advantage going in is going to be the team that will walk away with it. And who better to be the MVP than the man who disconnected and came back to get his team that win? Washed a Boomer. Well played, my friend.
Sage Empire advances to the next stage. And of course, Spectre Gaming has been eliminated for now, but they do get another chance in 3 following weeks to come. I'm sure they're gonna go back, take a look at the strategy board, figure out what went wrong so that they can correct these mistakes. Like I said, going in, I had very high expectations from them. They've shown their prowess on this map against tier 1 teams, against some excellent powerhouses of South Asia, and today maybe just not their day. They did have an excellent start, but it seemed to just fall apart so quickly. And we could see with the Hibana moving back and forth, that there was just some confusion on their side as to how they want to push, how they want to attack. And hopefully this is all corrected, because they are an excellent team, and I'm very excited to look for to see them in the following week in the next qualifier.
I agree. I think that Spectre Gaming coming into the next qualifiers is definitely going to have to revamp the way that they take things for themselves, because I believe they either got too confident thinking that Sage is not a team that they need to worry about too much, or Sage was just the better team throughout, and the man that they were missing, Washed Up Boomer, was really the one that they had to keep in game. And I honestly feel that maybe Spectre could have had a better showing. Not being able to pick up even a single round on attack, that's unfortunate. And I just hope that when they come back, they are just able to do it better. And I think that for Sage, it's going to be a huge morale boost coming back from that scoreline of 0-3. I honestly feel that Sage has a bright future in the tournament going forward. But then again, how will they face up against the good teams, the UGs, the Mercenaries, the Kira Esports? And speaking about Kira, they're not in the best position right now against Mischief. That game is going up live on the Twitch stream. So we're done on the YouTube panel over here, but you can head over to the South Asia R6 community channel on Twitch, and you can see it's going to be match point for Mischief and 5 for Kira. You can watch the remaining game go through and maybe drop in a sub on this channel as well, and make sure that you check in the Kira and Mischief game on the other side. So this is going to be it for me and Weeb from our side for the Sage versus Spectre game. And we hope to see you again tomorrow, because it's going to be a great time watching the games and watching the teams going up against each other in the open qualifiers for SAR6. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is actually going to be it, as we do not have any more games for the YouTube stream just now, as we just gotten to know that Error has lost a player due to a power cut and they do not have another player with themselves. So Demon's Force is going to be getting that default win, as we were initially planning to cast that game, but I guess CCV, we are just going to have to, um, you know, take the day off.
Yeah, I mean, it was surely going to be exciting. All of the games heading into the heading into the round of 16 were looking quite well. The game that's being streamed right now, Mercenaries versus LFO, Union Gaming's game. I mean, these are teams that are, of course, in the upper echelon when we talk about South Asia and when we talk about the entire pool of teams. So seeing them play yet again it's always fun. It's always a treat to watch them. Also, we had up and coming teams. Just right now, before this, we were showing Spectre Gaming versus Sage, a duel which lasted far longer than anyone would have expected. 7-4 with a comeback victory and all that. But apart from that, looking at the bracket so far, it's still a very, very exciting open qualifiers. And this is just the first qualifiers. Games like these, streams like these, I think might just encourage and motivate further and further teams, up and coming teams to register. And who knows what may happen in qualifiers 2, 3, and 4. But for now, you're looking at the brackets. We still have great matches ahead of us. Today, there's only one more game that's going to be streamed, which is, I believe, being streamed right now, on Twitch, which is Mercenaries versus Team Looking for Org. But tomorrow, we'll come back on both Twitch and YouTube with even more games and even more excitement. So yeah, before we wrap it up here on YouTube stream, Dr. Dang, if you can have a look at the brackets and we can talk through them and just essentially give predictions as to which team may end up in the quarterfinals, semifinals, or even the closed qualifiers. So yeah, our first game is of course Mischief Gaming versus Team Valiance. Again, two known teams, two tier 2, tier 1 teams, been playing against each other for a little while. It's going to be a close bout. It's being played off stream. What exactly do you think about this lineup?
Well, with MIG taking down Kira Esports, that's going to be a big boost for them. And honestly speaking, I think that MIG might just have the advantage going through, because they've already warmed up against a good team. Not, they've already picked up a great map against them. They played really well, took down Kira Esports, and Valiance, they are going to be coming in to this with the default win in their bag. So it's not going to be the same that Mischief will be feeling. They're already ready. Their comms are warmed up. Their aim's warmed up. So it's going to be a difficult game for Valiance. But then again, it's at the end of the day, which is the better team that is going to go through. Now, talking about the other game that we have, it's going to be Samurai Esports taking on Extraordinaire Gaming. Extraordinaire. Yep, Extraordinaire Esports. And I feel it's going to be. It's going to be an ESM game. I know that ESM and Extraordinaire are both going to be extremely strong teams, but I just feel that ESM has what it takes to make them go through, and I hope that my predictions are right.
Hopefully, looking at both the rosters of ESM as well as Extraordinaire, you can surely say, new rosters. They've been going through a lot of changes. ESM as well, they had a lot of players. They had two different teams as well. They went through the rosters. They kept switching them. A lot of players came into ESM. A lot of players left ESM as well. Now they have surely, in my eyes, a packed roster of 5 people, and I think they have what it takes, like you said, to win. And the same goes for Extraordinaire in my eyes as well. The all Sri Lankan roster of Extraordinaire, they're also quite experienced players, newly put together team. So one can surely imagine that it's going to be an interesting bout between both of them. I genuinely don't know whether ESM or Extraordinaire is going to win, but if I'm just making a prediction, for me, it's going to be a flip of a coin. And I think I may agree with you. ESM, the majority of the players that are playing right now, they've been playing as a team together for a little while longer than what EXT has. So I think, much like you, I think even I'll agree that ESM may end up winning this one. But yeah, apart from that, we also have games. We then have MrcZ versus Team Looking for Org, which is going on right now. So we can see how that one ends up. No need to talk about that. That's surely going to be interesting. There have been a few forfeits as well. We've had Gamers Syndicate along with Demos Force just getting forfeit victories, going into quarterfinals, being a step closer into getting that spot in the closed qualifiers. So a lot going on, and that brings us to our final three games. The first of which is an interesting one. It's UG versus Vikings. So what do you think about that one?
Well, Union Gaming, they are a team that needs no introduction, to be fair. And um, Union Gaming taking on any team is usually going to be a one-sided affair. But Viking, they are a team that has a lot of players that we know from earlier. We have Faktoon Kid, we have Boku, we have Slayer, we have Hamza, we have Boom. These are players that have been part of the community and have been playing competitive Rainbow Six Siege for a while now. And I just feel that it's going to be a close game. But UG, they are a team that has been playing for a lot longer. They are a team that has been together for a lot longer. And team coordination is something that you can't just grow in Siege. It's going to be something that you will have to work on from the get-go. And the more time that you spend with your team is just going to mean a lot more coordination that you have. And that is something that will definitely make sure that, Union Gaming has that advantage in that game going through.
Certainly so. Even for the side of Vikings, they've had a few of their players have played together. One duo that I have to mention has to be Hamza and Paktoon Kid. Like I was mentioning earlier about ESM having a lot of roster changes. These were two players, ex-ESM. They were there while, even I was in ESM at the time. So they were there, they had good duos together. I remember, Paktoon Kid, he's always been an IGL. He's played excellently and, he's commanded the team in a good way. So seeing him in this new form, I'm excited to see that. And again, team coordination has to be important. So yeah, there's Vikings, there's there are little few parts that can surely shine out, much like how the entire roster of Union Gaming shines out. And yeah, it's something to look forward to. And yeah, we'll see tomorrow out of these two teams, which of them plays against Demos Force, which is yet again going to be a game that's going to be, that essentially everyone is going to look out for regardless. So, and that brings us to, our final game, Virtual 5 versus Sage Esports. We just saw Sage Esports pull up the 7-4 win. So like you said, they must be warmed up. Their comms will be on point. They'll be quite happy and motivated with themselves, coming after this comeback victory of, the score was 4-1 and now they clutched it into a 7-4. So I think with a story like that and with the scenario set, Sage Esports, they surely have the psychological capability to clutch it out against Virtual 5. But will the roster be able to stand against a huge and heavy hitting team that V5 are?
I think that V5 is definitely going to be a strong team that you need to look out for. But we have seen that V5 can be shaky in some situations. We have seen that V5, if they are not at the top of their game, when they are at the top of their game, they're definitely a team that you need to look out for. But sometimes they just drop off the face of the earth sometimes they just have those days where none of those players are able to perform at the level that they need to. And I just feel that for V5, the most important thing that they really need to do today is keep their head in the game, not give those early frags, because that is where even a good team can lose the plot very, very quickly and then just be in a spot where they can't really do anything to rectify the issue.
Well, absolutely, and that concludes round of 16s yet again. If anyone's, just to make it clear, essentially that another game, the final game of today, is being streamed on Twitch right now. So go ahead, look at that. But otherwise, we'll be wrapping things up. We'll be back yet again tomorrow at the same time, 10:30 a.m. IST, to cover the quarterfinals and the semi-finals. Till then, we'll be taking a break. This has been CCV along with Dr. Dang and Pocket Ninja working behind the scenes. We'll be right back. Stay tuned and bye-bye.